Alright, so I hope you already watched the first part of this video where I explained the different examples on the back of question 1. So we're on page 50 in your journal. This is your project. It is due. It will not be accepted after December 16th. You can turn in before December 16th, but you have to turn it in by December 16th at 3:40. It won't be accepted after 3:40. Alright, so we're talking about Matthew and Peter. They're running down the steps. Now it tells you for Matthew that after 3 minutes he was on the 12th step, and after 9 minutes he was on the 4th step. And then for Peter it gives you an equation. But here are the questions you have to answer. And today we want to finish up number 1. Do the boys ever run into each other? Do the boys ever run into each other? Why or why not? So what you'll have to do is to prove your response with the slope, with the point-slope equation, the slope-intercept equation, table, graphs, and an explanation. We're going to get there, and that's on the white sheet of paper, and it says question number 1 on the white sheet of paper. It has all of these parts for that first question. Okay, the graphs, the tables, the slope-intercept, the point-slope, and the explanations. Okay, eventually we're going to get there, but we're going to move little by little. First thing we're going to do is it talks about the slope. So that's the first thing we're going to do for Matthew. So please go to page 51. Please go to page 51. And we're going to work on the project on page 51. So now for Matthew, it gives us some information about him. It says after 3 minutes, he was at the 12th step. Now, we need to get an equation from that. We need to get the slope from that. But I don't really see the point. So we're going to make this into a point. So, which one do you think is the x and the y? Minutes or steps? Which one do you think is independent? Minutes is independent. It's the x, and the steps are the y. So we're going to write that as a point. So the minutes is going to be 3. The step is going to be 12. Then, 51. This is on page 51. Alright, then it says after 9 minutes, he's at the 4th step. Does everybody see that on the purple paper? After 9 minutes, he's on the 4th step. So how would we write that as a point? 9, because that's the minutes, right? And what step is he on? 4th step. Alright, so what I'm asking you to do, just like we did on the white sheet of paper as our warm-up and as our minute quiz, I'm first going to have you get the slope, the movement of which Matthew is moving at. This one's Matthew, okay? I'm going to have you get the Matthew's movement, his slope, just like we did on number 1 here, okay? Just like we did on number 1. The second thing, because this is what our purple paper says to do, after you get the slope, I'm going to have you get the slope, point slope equation. How do we do that? Just like we did number 2. Then I'm going to ask you to do it like number 3, slope intercept equation. Number 3 is slope intercept. Oops, sorry. And then after you do that, by the end of today, then you also need to create Matthew's graph. And Matthew's graph is going to be just like number 4, and you're going to do Matthew's graph right here. Okay? You'll just have to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry? Right here. Slope intercept, just like we did number 3 here. That's why we did the warm-up, so you could see exactly how you're going to do Matthew's graph. Now, if you need extra help, this is on page 42. This one's on page 40. This one is on page 36. Or you could do it like page 48. And this one is like the number 4 we did as a warm-up. So this is due today. This is part 1 of your project. You're doing Matthew's slope. You're doing his equations and his graph. Okay, that has to be finished today. If you get finished early, then I want you to do Peter's equation, and I want you to solve Peter's equation. But those 4 things are for a grade today. If you finish early, you need to solve Peter's equation. Graph. Number 4 says graph. Alright. Okay, so questions about the 4 things you must finish today. Yes. You're doing here in the journal, page 51. And you have examples on this paper, and you have examples on page 45 and 46. And throughout the journal. This is where your graph is going to go. Once you're done and I check your answers, then you're going to put what the slope was. You're going to write down what the point slope is and the slope intercept for Peter and for Matthew. But I'm going to check it before you put it up here. Okay? Slope intercept form is like what we did here when it's in y equals. You have to solve Peter's. Yep, and you have to solve it like this.